action, and welcome everybody. This is PnP Weekly episode 205. It is 6th of April 2023, and was it episode 502? 205? Yes, it is. We are recording this a bit earlier than typically because of the Easter season. Doesn't really matter because luckily there's a lot of new news, and we have a visitor, of course, on the show as well. So today when we're recording, why we're even sharing that? Waldek, help me. I'm digging myself on that.
Yeah, stop talking. It's as easy as that. We're recording earlier because typically we record at 10 a.m. and now it's 9:24. So we're recording a bit earlier.
Yes, true. Now, in the PnP Weekly, we talk about always the latest on Microsoft 365 and the related technologies, and Azure, GitHub, and Power Platform is typically within the agenda because it's all part of the Microsoft Cloud. My name is Microsoft.
My name is Microsoft. Yes.
Wow.
Mr. Microsoft. From now on, you'll be known.
My name is Vesa Juvonen. I'm a program manager on the Microsoft 365 platform and community areas, and with me as a co-host.
Hey, everybody. My name is Waldek Mastykarz, and I am cloud developer advocate for Microsoft 365 at Microsoft.
No. You're the Mr. Oracle, right? So if I...
No, I'm not. No, that's no.
Scott Tiger, you know. Good. Today we do have a visitor joining us, who's April Dunnam. She was a long-term MVP, then joined Microsoft, and I think she's been on a show in the past at some point. We should probably actually check it out, but I can't remember which episode. It's been a while, and when that happens, and we talk about her new role, semi-new role, and she's nowadays leading a team of part of the Cloud Advocate. So what does that mean? And we get some clarity on what it means that Waldek is also a Cloud Advocate, probably as part of that interview. So, what's the role of Cloud Advocate?
Anyway? What does it mean? What does it all mean?
Yes. Can you tell what it means? Don't be so shallow. Good. You're checking out the episode.
I'm trying, but
okay, it's okay. Let's jump on the interviews. We'll figure it out before the interview actually is recorded, and we'll get back on the articles right after the interview. Let's jump on the meetup with April. Excellent. Let's actually get started. So, thank you, April, joining us on the PnP Weekly episode 205. Good to have you on the show as well. You were in episode 123 last time, so it's almost the 100 episodes between. So thank you for joining us again. Before we go, what's up and what's actually happened since? Let's do a quick intro. Who are you? Can you explain what you do for a living? For those who do not know who's April, the movie, the YouTube star, and whatever.
Sure. Yeah. So I am a principal cloud advocate here at Microsoft. I lead our Power Platform advocacy team. Been around the Power Platform space and then the SharePoint space before that for years. Was an MVP before joining Microsoft and all that. So that's who I am.
And you are a YouTube star. So that wasn't a joke. You actually are a YouTube star. You have a super successful YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, I love YouTube. It's fun. Yeah, I have the channel there. A lot of Power Platform content and stuff that I keep up.
Yeah. Not that we're pushing you to do even more, but people love your YouTube channel. But being a manager, which is actually a change since the previous discussion when we had, of course, changes a bit about the dynamics and the amount of time we have for that kind of stuff. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely kind of splits up your work day, right? So, having to manage and then still try to do the stuff that you love as well, the individual contributor stuff and the YouTube and all that.
But you wouldn't love being a manager, right? So
no, yes, right. I love it, but we're all here because we love like the tech that we do too. So you don't never want to lose that part of it too. So it's a balance. But I love managing the team. I have a great team.
So what's your secret to balance it out? Because it's tough. Like I have a single job and it's already hard, and you've got two jobs, and I can imagine it's only more. So how do you balance it out?
I'm probably not the best person to ask because I don't think I do it well. I think I just sacrifice on sleep and to kind of get some of it done.
And that's not a good thing. That's not sustainable.
Probably isn't the healthiest way about it. But I mean, again, it's stuff that I really love. So like a lot of the stuff, when I'm diving into something new, like to get caught up on like a new feature in Power Apps, like I find joy in that. So it's kind of like something I'll gladly do in my downtime. Like why maybe while I'm watching a show and like debugging an app and, building, trying out something new. So it's kind of how I balance it. But I do, I don't let it consume my life as well. Like I have hobbies and stuff, so I'm not just 24/7 working. Yeah, so try to divide my time.
I think I've seen you the other day. You bought a guitar, a Taylor.
Yes, exactly. Let's do the hobby part. And what do you do? I've never seen you playing that. So is that just a decor? Oh, it's a real guitar. That's good.
A real thing. It's a Taylor too.
Yeah, I got the Taylor GS Mini. Is what I just got. I'm just trying to learn. I've never really tried to play seriously or anything. My husband, he's a really great guitar player. And we, play in a band, and I sing and do harmonica, and he plays guitar. But we've been doing a lot more acoustic stuff. So I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I could kind of like help back up? Like he can do all the lead cool parts, and I can kind of just hold down some chords, like the rhythm. So I just thought that'd be cool.
At the same time.
Yeah, exactly. Like cool little hobby to try to teach myself a few chords there. Going good so far. It's only been like probably not even a month, but
okay. So it's still in the first stage where your fingertips like hurts crazy.
Oh yeah, it hurts. And I'm getting used to like not being able to feel the tips of my fingers.
Oh yeah, like they're super hard. So do you play nylons or strings or metal strings?
You're catching me. This is how little I know. Whatever the guitar came with, I don't know. What it is. I didn't change it.
Right. So you got metal strings, and then they cling metal. They sound metal. Or you have the nylons, which are more like I wouldn't say Spanish guitar, but that's probably like the easiest way to associate it. Yeah. So basically a nylon string. So do you have these or do you have the other ones?
I think that the metal ones and they're talking about, because I think I'm pretty sure that's
twice as much.
Okay, then that's why my fingers hurt so bad. Maybe I should switch to the other kind. That sounds like that'd be a little bit more fun.
So you are a singer in a band, and all of that. So is that the
guitar player, composer, YouTube?
Yes.
Like the list just keeps growing.
Yes, exactly.
Where do you get so many hours in a day from, April?
How do you replicate yourself? Is there another April somewhere?
I mean, yeah, it's just my clone. We just kind of, worked, divide up the duties. No, I wish, but I mean, I just make it happen. I just I'm really conscious about like my time and not really wasting it. Like I don't spend a lot of time just watching TV. Like I'm always doing something else if I am, and just kind of make the time for stuff. Because like the music stuff is just like one of the things that brings me joy outside of work, and it's just like a break from it all. So I've been doing a lot of
relaxation from
exactly. So
work. Yes,
yep.
Yes, which is super important and critical as well. So
yep.
We all have our own ways of relaxing. So which is good.
Some are more dangerous than others, like you on the bike, breaking bones.
Yeah. Yes. Or inline skating and all of that. I'm luckily able to sit on this one, so it's good. So
I have no coordination. I know I would injure myself if I tried anything crazy like that. So I'll stick to music.
That's fair. That is fair. Now, before we go back on the work and other stuff, and you do actually stuff in the open source and community quite significantly as well. What kind of things you're saying that you're singing? What kind of what does the band actually present, and where can we see you? Las Vegas within May, and
it is. We're
you can book us for all of your conference. No,
okay, cool.
We play locally here, like in Tulsa, just like around a lot of different fairs, festivals, and bars, and all that kind of stuff. A lot of acoustic, and then we do full band. So we have a full band, and we do a lot of rock covers. So anything from like 60s all the way to current, I would say. And then we do a few originals too. Yeah, trying to write some more original music.
The best music there is.
Yeah.
That's highly subjective now.
Yes,
it is. Like everything else in life.
That's true. That is so true. Now, we started by saying that you kind of evolved to be a manager in the Cloud Advocates. What does that entitle? What does it actually mean? So how has your work actually changed from being an IC as an individual contributor now that you're a manager? What has changed?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the main thing, obviously, other than having like a group of 3 people that kind of have to guide and manage, is really more thinking from a strategic level, so kind of before it's like, okay, I'm getting told like here are our focus areas and I'll go make all the stuff and make it happen, build the content and all that. So now having to take a step back at a higher lens and think, what are the big initiatives, and how can we best serve our different communities and where are the gaps needed, and kind of define that strategy and then kind of divvy out the task amongst the team and all that. So that's kind of the biggest change, is just that higher level of focus, and then, just more coordination with all of our, product team stakeholders, and just getting more deeply plugged into the community to identify what those needs are as well, and think through that.
And that, of course, takes a lot of time as well. Now, how does the dynamics work between the cloud advocates and then the engineering team? So how are you meeting? Of course, we're not meeting in person necessarily, but
we're sending emails.
Well, of course, we're sending emails as well.
Very dynamic.
But what's kind of the way of engaging? Just for those who don't know how Microsoft actually works, because it is a different organization, right?
Yeah. So the advocacy org is totally different from the product teams in our own separate world there. But that's what we do to keep updated with them. We have regular syncs that we set up, like usually with some key stakeholders there on a monthly basis, just to learn, what's coming up, where do you see kind of the gaps are that we can help you. Maybe you need to increase more awareness about a certain feature and stuff like that. So we just have regular monthly sync cadences with the stakeholders there to keep in contact and let them know what we're doing and share, different things we're trying.
So it's almost like the product group is your customer and you're the specialist of making their stuff look pretty. Is that the way of looking at not just pretty, but available and all that for the
very
audience?
cold. Like on a scale of cold to hot, like that's very cold. No, Vesa, no.
I would say like the community is our stakeholders, the users are our stakeholders, and we're all driving for the same goal of like, how do we help educate and like fill in gaps so that people can use the products that we're advocating for in the best way possible, and make good solutions.
Makes perfect sense. I do apologize. Waldek, your question, because I will jump between the networks. So
My question.
I'm in the wrong network. You probably have some questions in your mind for April. I'm going to flip between a 5G to a fiber, a connected network. So that's going to be.
So going back to guitars and music, April.
There we go. Let's just talk about music the whole time.
Important stuff.
I like it.
Important stuff.
Yes.
Like,
okay, now I'm back. Sorry. Okay, no, you had your chance. Now my turn. Now,
it's okay.
No.
I'm gonna let you finish. No.
The silent Finn strikes again.
Yes. Now, so we talked about the cloud advocacy, we talked about how it works. What about your YouTube channel? How did you come up with the YouTube channel? How do you come up with an ideas of what are you actually doing? And is that actually part of your work? How does that work from a dynamics perspective? So is it work time? Is it not? And why did you create that in first place?
Yeah, well, I mean, now it's a little different. That's kind of like my own passion project, it kind of obviously helps my work, but we do content too for like the Power Platform YouTube channel as well. That's kind of like more my job, and then my channel is kind of my personal passion project. So I mean, it started like, how do I get ideas? That's kind of how it started, is back when I was in consulting and running my own business and all that. I mean, I was just doing so much work, and I wanted to remember all the stuff I was learning from all the projects I was doing. So I thought, what better way than I'll just make a quick video, and then I can go back myself and reference and remember how the heck I did that thing in there, and then maybe it can help other people too. So that's kind of how it started, and that's still how I get my ideas. Like I'm out there talking with people and customers and all that, and hearing where they're struggling, and I wish there was some guidance on how to do this, and build UI and Power Apps or whatever it is. And that's kind of where I get all my ideas for things to do still to this day.
I think a lot of people, so as part of this transition on different mediums, in the past, it was all about blocking and adding notes in and writing stuff with your fingers. Now it's more about also talking and presenting as a reminder for yourself as well. So the personal YouTube channel can be considered almost the same as the personal blog for a lot of the, hey, I need to remember this. Well, let me record a video and then share that with the wider audience at the same time, which is great.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I did the blogging like back in the day too, but I'm not a good writer. I don't like it. It just does not bring me joy, so they say. So figured I'll try video because I can talk through something. Way easier.
Yeah.
Yes. And then you can justify all of the nice gadgets and everything else because
exactly.
You do.
I mean, I love gadgets, so anything where I can like buy and test out different gadgets, I mean, I'm all for that too, and have a valid reason for it. So.
All of the great gadgets and.
Yeah. I need to work on my sound effects game. That is one thing that I haven't set up yet. I got the whole stream deck and all that, but I haven't configured the sound effects. So I'm behind. I got to catch up with you, David.
Luckily, don't go there. Whatever you do, please don't go there. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Okay, I need that one. I was joking about people doing the bloopers for YouTube videos, and I said mine would be all just probably me cursing. When something like that comes in, scratching at the door, like no one needs to see that. I'm just like, I'll need that button. Like the whole
that
time.
reminded me on something which probably haven't shared actually in here, and it's fine to get shared. So related on videos and everything else. Back in the time, you doing videos was a bit more rare when we started because we're dinosaurs, right, Waldek?
Yourself.
Anyway, that was while we're recording this on like Friday or Thursday. We should be doing this only on Monday because this is stupid. The brain is working in weird.
Your brain works in very mysterious ways.
Exactly. Great song, by the way. Now, you too, Mysterious Ways. Anyway, so I remember back in time when we were doing videos and editing videos, and we're pushing them only in MSD and in TechNet because YouTube was not allowed, and Channel 9 was potential an option, but it didn't really exist at the time. And Luca Bandinelli did this video for social in SharePoint 2013. And I vividly remember the reaction because I was listening. There was somebody else who wrote or listened and wrote all of the transcription
captions,
because there was no automation captions, and there was no automation in place. And Luca basically, and there was a marker on the video. I could not understand what Luca is saying here, and I'm listening that. And I'm like, no idea what he's saying either, but it's fine. Let's ship it. We put it in TechNet. Official Microsoft TechNet as a official learning, and we didn't have Microsoft 365 at the time, so it was SharePoint was the biggest thing ever. So all of the videos had a widely viewed, like millions of views through the TechNet, and I pushed it out, and it went out, and like within like 12 hours or whatever, Luca basically pinged me in an SMS message on because we. Computer's not open. You need to pull it down. You need to pull it down. You need to pull it down because what he was doing is cursing. So coming back on the beep sound,
Italian.
he was cursing in Italian, but I had no idea. It made no sense.
Well, but you should have heard it, like the tone of voice. Like,
But it's like that sounded weird, funny. I have no idea what it is, so let's just ship it.
When in doubt, ship it. Right?
Exactly.
Never a good advice.
Well, there wasn't time, and we're always running late and all of that. But yeah, you need to be a bit careful on cursing and bad wording and everything else, because again, that should not be necessarily in your personal YouTube channel unless that's part of your profile. So.
I love that. Where was AI back then to catch that? For
exactly.
Yeah.
So.
I like it. Like there was in a TV show, I think, where they did the beeps, where a person would swear and then came the beep right after it. It was like, what's the point of that exactly?
Yes. I think a few times we said for Andrew, who's our video editing guy, that we need to beep that word, and he's done exactly that, which is like 2 seconds after the word you get that.
Oh right. There was a beep. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyway, but on the YouTube, so how do you see is that the YouTube thing? You said that it's your almost like a hobby and a passion hobby, which is a good way of saying things. Is that a thing that you keep on still doing in the future as well, as part of the relaxation? Is that a relaxation? That's the one thing which is weird actually for me as well, that what is work and what's a hobby. And of course, when you go biking or inline skating outside, that's hobby.
When you're being
but
paid for things, it's work. It's called work typically.
But if you don't have tracking of your hours, and if you don't really report your hours, then what's actually work and what's hobby? It's a really.
I get your point.
Yeah.
So
philosophical.
Like social media.
You're getting all philosophical on Thursday.
I'm really
never record any episode anymore on Thursday. What is work? What is life anyway? Why are we here? What is sky?
What is the
Are you
meaning of all
actually
this?
there? Why am
Yeah.
am I really here, or is this a?
On a lighter note, what's next, April? What is next on your plate? What is the next big rock you're pushing or pulling or rolling?
Yeah, you've been doing an awesome job, by the way, on
Yeah.
helping on Power Platform, and the team is absolutely brilliant. A lot of awesome content from your team. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think just, I'm still relatively new, like managing the team. So kind of keep going with that, see if hopefully eventually, we can grow the team more. I mean, we have really great teams so far, but so we can just do even more. And I mean, I think obviously right now, like AI is the big thing. So seeing how we can help kind of drive further, innovation and knowledge and awareness of some of the cool things that have been, coming down the road. With AI, particularly in Power Platform. And then just, I personally, I'd like to get just more into that space in general, just even like outside of the Power Platform and maybe explore like other things on my channel as far as like AI topics. And like I said, I mentioned gadgets. So I thought about, maybe starting my own gadget review channel as well, like just personally, like for that.
Yep.
So yeah,
AI,
just lots of
AI
little things.
gadgets. AI gadgets.
Yep.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
April's AI gadget, AHE. So.
Oh, I like it. Yeah, I might have to steal that.
Ah.
I'll have to cut you a royalty check, I guess, if I go with that.
Yeah, that's fair. Now it's recorded. I own that. It's copyrighted. Now AEG is something else. Now,
yes, make it 2.
Now, you've been also actively involved in the community side of the house. And can you talk a bit about why is the community a thing for you? And also you've been actively involved within the collecting samples and all of that stuff. But that you actually started that before it's kind of part of your role and part of your work, which comes back on the hobby work versus complexity. Why are you doing that? You're basically sharing your expertise for free for somebody else. The classic example and a question what we do here, because some people always ask that. If you have your precious, why are you sharing that away for other people? Why?
I mean, well, to me, it's like kind of like a giving back because other people did that for me when I was starting out in my career. So it's kind of like the circle of life, I guess, in a way, right? Like returning the favor. And I just think that's vitally important. We can't, could I like build a course or something and sell that and probably make a lot of money or build a template and sell that? Yeah, I could, but I'm just limiting the amount of people that can benefit from that. It just goes back to my passion. Like before I got into tech, I thought I wanted to be a teacher. And I just like helping people and helping people learn and, get new careers and things. And so through the samples, that I put out there, through the tutorials and video content that we put out there for free, I'm able to reach the widest amount of people with no limits to getting the content, and so that they can, use that however they need to and benefit from them. It's just, just a passion of mine. Like I said, people did that for me. It really helped me, and I want to return the favor and keep it going on.
And there's probably no fear that you would run out of ideas, that you need to.
I don't think so. It's just virtually impossible with the pace of change here. There's always going to be some new stuff. So I'm not worried about that anytime soon.
Yeah, and that's actually a really good mentality as well, because the reality is that technology is evolving so fast. And it's like, why would you keep your precious in here? What about if you would actually show the precious and share the precious or somebody else, and then they can actually build on top of that, and you learn from them, and then everybody learns. It's the shared knowledge of the community rather than just individual isolation. So.
For sure. That's a big part. I remember I put together this simple template for a desk reservation, during COVID when we were trying to do the hybrid work stuff. And I learned more from that, not from me building that, but from people saying that they took that and they tweaked it for other use cases, like a parking lot kind of scheduling app or a hotel scheduling or whatever. And then just seeing what other people did with it and ran with it more than I did building the app. So you get a lot out of it too.
Yeah. Interesting, isn't it? The more you share your things, and I guess that also applies to our engineers. They build a product, and then it's being used in ways they would never envision. It's like, I didn't know you would use this for that. Let's do something about it. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's I still remember the in-person conferences and expo areas. The engineers were always the most wow, I went to talk to that and that one. They built something absolutely incredible. I was like, yeah, that's the idea. They build on top of your stuff.
Yeah.
I never thought about that somebody could do something like that. Yeah, but that's really cool.
But it is an interesting point. Like, how do we create, feedback loops around that from between engineers and customers in current time where we are not at Expo floor the whole time?
Yep.
How do we do that, right? How do we bridge the gaps? And again, that is where your org, April, and my org, Omzena, right? Like, try to advocate on behalf of the customer to product group and advocate on behalf of the product group to customers. Like, making that bridge and let everybody know about the cool work that we do and also where we can improve.
Exactly. So having the back channel to the engineering as well. And even coming back on the community side, that's the beauty of that open source and sharing things, because then you will get the feedback back, like you said, April, in the same way as engineering is getting feedback back. But that's also the, let's say, having the courage of opening and sharing your thing to somebody else, to be willing to take the feedback, and that actually happens in YouTube channel as well, because you see and hear people behaving badly. There's always trolls, so you take that risk of somebody attacking you. Has any do you have any tips? I know that you've been a few times openly kind of being providing a bit feedback related on trolls in the YouTube. How do you deal with that? How do you handle the negativity? Because unfortunately that still happens. Not necessarily. I think it's getting to a better direction. Maybe, I don't know. Is it? And how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's always going to be there. I know that I think I've evolved in my stance on it. I think it's human nature to just get in defense mode. Like, wow, like really, like why are you attacking me? Because I'll be attacked in all kinds of things. Like whether it's like, I don't know the tech, or even like just on like at a personal level, like your looks and like the way you talk and things like that. Like, so you have to be prepared for all kinds of that. It's situations like that. And like I think at first I was very kind of defensive of it, and maybe took the approach of kind of like trying to involve like reply, and kind of, which is I think the biggest mistake. That's exactly what people like that, the trolls want is you to reply and get the attention. And so I fought that urge, and I think I matured over the years of how I approach that. And I simply ignore it. I mean, I don't even give it the time of day, because if you look at it from a higher level, at least, I mean, I think for probably 99% of the cases, those, rude comments, those things are like 0.01% of the overall comments that you get. The overwhelming majority is very positive, or just simply asking for help. So I don't even give it the time of day anymore. I don't even give them notice. I don't post about it on social media anymore. I did used to do that, when it bothered me, thinking they need to be called out for this. We need justice, and I just don't think that's in my opinion the right approach anymore, because you're just giving them what they want, and it doesn't do you any good. It doesn't help you. So you're better to move on and just keep doing it, because if you're doing something that you love, and that's all that matters, and if it's helping people, that's all that matters. And the people that want to, put hate into the world, you shouldn't give it the time of day. So
True. And we humans are somehow magically wired in a way that we always focus on the negatives, especially when it's towards us. And
survival instinct.
I get that. It is survival instinct, but it's a bit of a sad thing as well, because
on YouTube, right? Impacts, survival on YouTube, so important.
Or Twitter, or social media, and everything else. I just yesterday again, whatever. I think it was Twitter. I have a bad habit of evening when I close up. I'm not actually closing up, because I'm still in my iPad and doing things, and doom scrolling is a bad habit as well. And then you read reactions and everything else. And just yesterday again, muted, like mute, and then go on. You're out of my sight. I will never see those comments again.
You ran out of mutes. You cannot mute anybody.
I'd say muting and blocking people, like that is your best tools to.
Exactly. And in the YouTube, I do manage few channels and help on managing few channels, and it's for sure the muting is the best, because even when you're muting the person, of course, it's a wrong thing for them to attack, and unfortunately, those kind of people are looking for the reaction. It might be intentional. It's not necessarily even a people. It might be a bot. It might be something else. We never know. But if you mute them, they don't know that you ignore them, but they're no longer visible for anybody else in the YouTube, which is like, well, tough luck. Go on. So. Go somewhere else and yell somebody else. I can't hear you. So.
Or what?
Exactly.
On that No. Going back to our tips. April, you achieved so much. You have an awesome job. You're playing in a band. You're about to learn guitar playing. You are a star on YouTube. Used to be an MVP. What tips would you give to somebody who is about to start career in tech?
Wow, that's a good question. Well, one, I would say, like, don't get too hung up on, just don't let fear hold you back. Like, I think that's something that held me back in the beginning, fear of maybe I don't know enough, like the whole, I guess, imposter syndrome type thing, or like I'm going to get called out, if I, in fear of like putting myself out there, like starting the YouTube channel and all that whole thing. Like, that was a big deal because, as we just talked about trolls, like you're opening yourself up to a world of, potentially negative comments and stuff like that. But I would say just as long as you're always following your passion and something that you really enjoy, I think only good things will happen. There'll be some negative things along the way, but just follow your passion, and don't let any of those thoughts that you have in your mind kind of stop you from doing what you love. And then seek out mentors and get involved in the community. I probably did that a little bit way too late too. It was like really trying to get plugged in the community and seeking out like mentors to help me and run, get advice from and all of that. So try to identify. I think people are nicer than you think. I was scared, like I don't want to bother this person, but like most people are willing to work with you and then help you in whatever way they can. So get plugged in. It's a great community that we have in tech, especially with Power Platform and Microsoft 365 and SharePoint. Just a great group of people that are always ready and willing to help you. So get plugged in as soon as possible to the community and find a mentor, and you'll be on a good path.
Regarding the mentoring part, because especially at Microsoft, like we say it a lot, we hear it a lot. Like, how do you go about it? Like, do you ask folks and do you ask them what? Like, do you ask them to mentor you, or do you ask them to help you with a specific thing? Like, what's your tip? Like, how would you advise somebody who's looking for advice around career or tech? How would they approach it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think you want to get away from just like, hey, can you mentor me with someone? Because like, well, you want to make sure that you have the best experience out of this thing and the person mentoring you as well, and that it's a good fit. So it's kind of vague. So if you can be as specific as possible, like for me recently, when I knew that I was going to have to be managing, I specifically sought out someone that I knew was a manager and asked them for help. Like, I want specific guidance on how do I best manage a team? How do I nurture a team? How do I do strategy? And I gave kind of specific bullet points of the things that I was looking for mentorship on. So if you can kind of think through that and do that exercise, then you'll have a better experience, all the way around, because you'll find the best fit for specifically what you're looking for.
Yeah, and especially the first person who's actually sent that might be saying, well, actually, I'm not good at these things, but how about this person or something? And exactly. All of a sudden, you have multiple connections and all of that. It's people are typically friendly, so it's amazing being a person with the imposter syndrome and still remembering my career development in Microsoft when I got started, and then all of a sudden you realize that you can actually ask help and you can actually be. It's okay, and that's how it should be, and that's why I think that's part of the community work as well, which we're trying to foster and help is to find that everybody is welcome. Absolutely, everybody is welcome, and you can ask any questions, and nobody's going to judge you on that, and we'll push you in the right direction one by one. And there's multiple examples of that being successful, and that's the right behavior for sure. So.
Exactly. So what I love about sharing is caring and all that is just that inclusiveness and, never afraid to ask any questions and all that.
Yes. Sharing is caring is the one of the initiatives in our community, wider community thing where basically we don't record any of those sessions. People are welcome to join and learn basics, and nobody's going to judge your previous skills or who you are and where you join from. And it's all about just openly teaching everybody. So, and there's even buddy systems related on, hey, I need to learn on presenting. I would love to do a demo in community call. Any chance we could do some connections? Yeah, absolutely. And we've been, of course, it depends on a person, depends on availability. There's a multiple calls where there has been new people, and then there has been multiple buddy system connections who are helping people to do the presentation, which is great. So presenting is also actually interesting now that I'm thinking that. My brain goes in multiple ways right now. Again, it's Thursday. It's almost Friday. It's because tomorrow is public holiday.
It's Friday in Australia, is it already? Maybe.
It is. Yeah. It's
It is.
It is. There you go. It is Friday. You are on Australian Standard Time.
I just spoke at an Australian event last night at like 10 o'clock my time, and it was
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
There you go.
I have no idea what I was about to say though.
There you go. It wasn't
something
important
about
on that
yeah.
note.
Speaking, yes. So something about the the speaking or contributing, and that's actually comes back on the community helping as well, and going above the let's say the self boundary, which is basically making yourself vulnerable for others by contributing. So the first sample you get in, or the first PR you get to the CLI for Microsoft 365, or the first speaking demo what you do, and obviously we want those to be successful, we want to be friendly, and quite often what happens is that immediately when that's successful, people want to do more because it's actually kind of fun, and that's a great cycle which everybody in the community always trying to support as much as possible. But it does require that individual to really push over the boundary on, can I do this? And the answer is yes.
Well, yeah,
absolutely.
And it goes two ways, right? Because like on one hand is you being on, let's say, the receiving end of the stick, like going over the hurdle, going over the step, and being, willing to do something you are uncomfortable with and do something in the open. And then also all that while being aware it will suck. The first time you will fail and it will probably be bad, but that's realities of life. Like it's with anything. That's the way we learn. Whether it's
a European way of selling.
No. But it's like that's just realities of life. Like it's the same thing. Like with I put you on a parasail class, or
absolutely the first time there's going to be
it's going to suck. It's going to be bad. But as long as you are. That's okay. I'm going to learn from this, and I'm going to next time it's going to be better and better and better and better.
Yes.
But not have this mentality of it has to be perfect, or like I suck at this. I will never be able to learn it. And that is kind of one of the great things at Microsoft, like the mentality of being a learn it all. Like there's always room for improvement. You can always do better as long as you stick with it, right? And ask for help. Like that is really the recipe.
Unless you're Paolo, and because Paolo is perfect.
He is Italian though, so that doesn't count.
Yeah, I mean, I like all that. I think it's a good point too. Like, because like not only do you have to kind of make that leap, and it might not be perfect from outright, especially like when speaking, but it kind of goes both ways. Like we need to be, as event organizers and people that are running these community programs, we need to be actively seeking to give those opportunities to new speakers, because I think so many times you kind of get your established speakers, and we need to have programs in place so that people that are wanting to make that step and that are new speakers have that platform. And I think there's several groups and stuff that I see making tracks just for new speakers and the space for that, and I think it's important to keep doing so that everyone going forward can continue to have the opportunity.
Well,
absolutely.
An idea that I just got that I haven't seen being done a lot is actually pair up an expert, someone who has done this in the past a few times with somebody brand new. Have them team up and do a thing. But actually be together on the stage.
That's true.
Together, because then you will learn kind of like an apprentice. Like you will get to see how that person prep and how do they think and structure their talk and go about demos or not. Maybe they prepare slides like 10 minutes ahead of the talk. I was like,
that's exactly what I was thinking. So.
But so you might find out that that's the case more often than not. That's something. And then if you're a type A personality like me, that's going to be like, oh, really?
Well, but if anything else, it only shows that the bar doesn't need to always be that high. Like sometimes good is good enough, and people are there for you. People root for you.
Yeah.
If something doesn't go ideally the way you envision that, nobody will know because that's only in your head, right? So that's additional layer of stress that you add to yourself for no reason, right? So that is also like a thing to learn from folks who wing it. Like, well, sometimes that's good enough.
It doesn't have to be. It certainly does not have to be perfect. And I remember within my earlier career, the problem always was that my quality bar was like 150% more than was supposed to deliver, and that actually comes to be a problem even as a consultant or when you're working with customers and you're always over prepping. Like 2 a.m. I still remember my wife calling like 2 a.m. in the morning, but I'm still at the local Microsoft office. Can you come here? No. Important meeting tomorrow. I'm
Any
just
moment
about
now.
to finish
Any
this.
moment now.
Yeah,
Almost done.
just
Almost done.
Final thing. Final thing. And sure, the meeting went well on the next the day, but still, it's one of those things that did I actually needed to do the extra thing? Answer is no, because it would have been good enough as well. And the many times actually in career and work, we should be able to tone back as well, because then what could happen is that you burn yourself related on your personal mindset commitment rather than real world commitments. And that's a really hard thing to learn as well.
And I guess another tip. So unless you are Steve Jobs who launches new computer, don't worry about it.
Now, we're
on that optimistic note, thinking about time.
What's happening this week? What are you doing this week, April? Or in any focus areas, what you're doing within the upcoming weeks?
Well, this time of year, getting ready for build. So I'm going to be doing a workshop on Power Platform and ProDev integration there. So kind of doing the prep work for that. I'm happy to be there in person for the in-person element of that. But so yeah, that's taking a lot of my time right now. It's just prepping for builds and all that. Yep.
Cool. What about you, Waldek? Anything interesting on there?
Just today, like 2 hours ago, we released a new version of CLI for Microsoft 365. So there is that. Anything else? Preparing for build, wrapping up things, making plans for the next big thing, which will hopefully come soon. So it's never a dull day, like going from one thing to another and really being all over the place, from code to thinking big. And it's like, what is the next big thing we could do?
And moving from one thing to another, one thing to always remember, though, I would be I'm now getting really philosophical. Every single one of us should be always remember to also celebrate those wins, so we don't actually forget about that one. So it's not just about delivery, and jumping on the next one, and next one, next one, because there has to be a bit of a relaxation in between, because otherwise we might actually run out of energy. Now, on my side, SPFX 1.17 went live Tuesday this week. We're recording this on and a week ago when this goes live. And then there's MVP Summit coming. I'm involved in Microsoft 365 conference and quite a few sessions actually. ECS, European Collaboration Summit coming, and so on. So a lot of stuff there. But I guess that's it for this one. Thank you, April, for joining. Really good to catch up. Good discussion and good tips for everybody else who's watching and listening.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. Good to talk with you.
Really, really cool. And from here, we'll jump on covering the weekly articles, which we actually already recorded earlier today, but we'll cut it in. Let's not tell that anymore. But thanks, April. Really, really cool.
Thank you, April.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, April, and on joining us. Really good to catch up and good to have a discussion on your side of the house as well. I think that the cloud advocates is in general, it's one of those, okay, what does it actually mean? What do you do for a living? Well, kind of a lot of stuff. Well, how does it relate? Is different than a PM role and all of that. Now, there are certain special PMs and then there's feature PMs and there's things like my role is pretty complicated to explain in many sense, because a lot of the stuff what we do, for example, with you, Waldek, is we actually do exactly the same thing. So a bit of a different roles, but
exactly. And I mean, we have PMs that own features. We have PMs that coordinate things. We have end-to-end PMs, for example, in Azure, who are less focused on a product and more on the end-to-end experience. So across the company, we have just the fact that you say you're a PM. It's like, okay, what do you actually do?
Yeah,
and I mean,
and that means that you can be a program manager, product manager, and technically PM also is a term for project manager, but not in Microsoft because we don't really have project managers anymore. So
yes, correct. So project management is typically, is that right thing to say? That's typically taken by program managers.
Yes.
At least on our end.
Technically, we don't really do projects, but again, we do kind of events and planning and all of that. So yeah, but it's a bit of a difference. I think
officially per org, yeah.
Exactly. And whenever there was the consulting branch in Microsoft, I think they had actually project managers, at least at some point.
Yeah, and they also had customer engagement managers, which is kind of
well, that's true.
So, yes. Yeah.
But those names kept on changing as well. So because it's good to have a new title. So if there are certain things which are relevant, evident in Microsoft, organizational changes, title changes.
We evolve. Like if anything else, you cannot say that we're not evolving.
That's true. That's all. evolving. Absolutely.
You can say
true.
many things about us.
Yeah. Which is completely, you're entitled to have your opinions, 100%. So absolutely. Now let's jump on the weekly articles. Let's go through what has happened within a week. We do, as we started the intro within. Before we started the interview, we talked about take two. We talked about that we're recording this bit earlier, which means that there isn't actually that much articles, but there is, which is actually interesting. There has been a lot of new stuff happening this week as well, and there are certain themes which actually keep on now repeating on every single week. And let's talk about those as well as we go through the articles. So first of all, on the Microsoft Teams blog, there was an update related on Microsoft Teams Rooms, a more inclusive and collaborative vision for hybrid meeting rooms, which is cool. So the hybrid is, let's say, the term of the industry right now, which is awesome. So we are not expected to all go back in the office. It's more about enabling people to work wherever they want to work and wherever they are physically. Like in your case, Waldek, I think it's such a great example. You have never met any of your teammates or your manager in the real world, right?
In person, yes.
In person.
Yeah,
Yes.
So I still cross my fingers that they will come.
Maybe one day you can confirm that they're real.
An offset for our team a while back, but I wasn't there. But and also like not everybody was, and we have new folks who joined the team since. So it's not an obvious thing, right? And we need to find new ways to kind of build the connection. So this might be it. Like I wouldn't mind to have that like full wall screen here. And just like
I wouldn't mind the company to buy me a new house or extend the existing one to have this kind of
with a little room for meetings.
What's your benefits? We have this size benefit.
Well, I don't know. I can see this possibly going sideways in the sense that you will spend the whole day in like a cubicle of 3 meters by 3 meters.
That is.
And it's like having this
claustrophobic
feeling.
Come on.
Yeah, fair. Okay. Next.
Good. Now, this one was the one which I was referring to, a kind of a theme, what we're seeing in every single week. And we keep on seeing more and more Microsoft products and services introducing the Copilot and OpenAI and machine learning integrations in them. And the Copilot is the term what we seem to be now consistently using across the whole stack. So we'd call it Microsoft 365 Copilot, and then that is the technology which is then coming across the individual products. And so I think it's fair to say, without spilling any beans, that you can pretty much expect the Copilot to be present across all of the individual services and products which we have in Microsoft 365. So
isn't it already? Have we announced everything already?
Well, we haven't. We've said that it's coming, but we didn't actually explicitly do like OneNote. What does it mean in OneNote? How does it actually work in OneNote?
Yeah. So we mentioned the Office guy. Yeah, fair enough.
So that is true. Cool. Then there was an article from Microsoft 365.
This episode is brought to you in Finnish.
That wasn't Finnish.
Oh,
gibberish, whatever it is. Now, on the Microsoft,
speak gibberish.
Yeah, is that Finnish or is that completely nonsense?
Gibraltar? Is that?
Yes. Now. On the Microsoft 365 blog, there was a good monthly summary. I love the fact that we're starting to do this monthly summary across the stack. It is a really, really, really cool thing. So you can actually have a look on what does it mean and then references on the point. And again, here we're, of course, referencing the Microsoft 365 Copilot because that's getting integrated also on the admin experiences. And then calling out all of the news and announcement what has happened within the last month. Really, really, really convenient way. Also, actually kind of copy that one. Let's talk about that one in the end a bit more. Of course, right now we are significantly promoting the Microsoft 365 conference. A lot of this stuff will be covered more detailed with additional announcements in the Microsoft 365 conference. So it is the spring event this year, which is really, really cool. Now, on the SharePoint side, same thing. monthly summary on the SharePoint roadmap with a intro zone. And it's always like, well, what was the podcast name?
It's in the title. It's just like you scroll too far down, like you stay up.
Oh, it's not. It's not.
Oh, it's not. Oh, fair enough. Fair enough.
No. But intro zone is the podcast which stays bundled in the monthly summary, or Mark does that, and that's a good way. This time it's Mac McKenzie, director of product marketing, one of the directors in product marketing, and then Sudha Narayan. We used to actually work in the same team as Sudha, but then she moved. As we shuffled a bit on where the Power Platform integrations within the ODSP are being done, that was a shuffling of things. Now, I think she's not going to actually guess. No, Microsoft List supports approval scenarios. Yes, it's still the same thing. Anyway, sorry, Sudha, just needed to confirm you're still doing that stuff. She was, really good people to work with, and no doubt capable of doing whatever she wants. But anyway, so a lot of new opportunities, capabilities, calling out again the updates. We talked about the Microsoft Duo connection in a tablet mode and all of that last time. So we're referencing again all of the latest news in here. Not just on SharePoint, because everything is powered by SharePoint, which is actually really interesting. So it's pretty mind-blowing, as that's being the content services behind of the scenes.
Yes.
Now, you probably want to talk about this one a bit from Aisha. Aisha is also a cloud advocate.
Exactly, right. So the other day we had an announcement of Teams Toolkit for Visual Studio Code V5 pre-release. Early version of next generation of toolkit and tools to build apps for Teams. Because if there's one thing that we hear time and again is that more and more people and more of us spend more and more time in Teams. Teams being, where we communicate and collaborate. Why not bring all the apps that we use for work into Teams so that you don't need to find bookmarks, scatter for URLs. You just can have contextually available everything that you need where you already are. And this is just yet another example that Aisha built, targeting specifically developers. Like, how would you build the single control plane for your work, right? And in this example, she shows an integration with Azure DevOps, GitHub, and Teams and
Planner
task. Yeah, exactly. So having basically all of your work, no matter where it is, because if you work on multiple projects, well, it could be that some of the tasks are more related to organizing things, organizing events. Then you might have some tasks related to code and work, and then there are some other tasks too, right? So bringing all of that into a single pane for you to be able to more easily track your work. So this is a great example of what different types of apps you could build on Microsoft Teams. Check it out.
True. Absolutely. I would not want to see the list of open issues assigned in the repos which I'm anyway associated to, because that would be a long list of things.
Well, it is confronting, but on the other hand, there are people waiting for your answer.
That is true. That is true. Anyway, so really cool. And again, once again, step-by-step guidance on how to get started and do the things. And this one is using the new dashboard sample as a starting point, which is really cool. So basically a tab which is a starting point as a dashboard. So it gives you a good set of things to get started, and then modifying that based on your business requirements. Awesome stuff. Now, we also did announce SharePoint Framework 1.17. We talked about this one quite a few times, actually, because we did a beta release candidate and then GA, but now it's available as a GA version. And in here, regardless of the name, which is a bit confusing, but again, SharePoint powers the Microsoft 365. We mostly invested most investments in SPFX 1.17 is happening on the Microsoft Teams and Microsoft Viva area, but of course there are improvements in the SharePoint areas and web parts as well. So a lot of adjustments and improvements. Really, this is the primary thing here, was to get it aligned with the Microsoft Teams extended across Microsoft 365. Technically, that GA'd again already on November. Now, we did have that event last week. We're going to talk about that event in a second. As Outlook is now GAing that feature and all of that, so you don't have to be in a preview, which is the key point. And as part of that, we also did a sync to Teams functionality and all of those to actually be auto-creating Teams applications for SPFX which are supporting then across the Microsoft 365. So a lot of cool stuff. And Viva Cards extension updated to Advocacy Schema 1.5, which, by the way, enables to create tables. Which is
very
cool as well.
So no longer needing to fit with grids and alignments, and you just have a table.
Yes, exactly,
Perfect.
exactly. So this one is hopefully not a significant news or impacting anybody's Skype for Business usage reports deprecated in Microsoft Graph in production and beta endpoints. Of course, we are always tracking how much usage individual endpoints are, and Skype for Business should not really be used at this point anymore. I guess that's the conclusion. I don't know if there's end of life. Yeah, retirement of Skype for Business.
I haven't touched Skype for Business for a long time. I don't know.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
so
we announced it already in July 2019, retirement of Skype for Business online.
Technically 4 years ago.
Yeah, almost, yeah.
Decommission starting on April 13, 2023. So, okay, cool. There we go. Now, on Power Platform side, there was an improving the Azure OpenAI models in Power Automation to save people time. And I have to say, as we were walking through this title, I read that 5 times and I couldn't understand what it is until I read the actual article. So
actually, the title, I was there to clarify it for you. I'm here to hold
exactly. Yes. Waldek, any chance you can explain again?
Yes. Well, so basically the idea is, right, we recently announced the ability for you to be able to express in natural language what do you want to achieve within Power Automate, and then Power Automate would build for you a flow based on your prompt in a way, right?
Yes.
And we improved it. We made it more accurate so that you can more easily get what you actually mean without you having really to name all the different technical blocks within the flow. So with that, you should be able to more easily get to where you want to be with Power Automate flows. Definitely check it out.
Absolutely. Improvements are there. That's really good. Improvements are always good, right?
Yeah, and there's always room for improvement.
There's always room for improvement. Yes, there is not a finalized product ever. Never, ever. What's new on Power Apps March 2023 feature update? Again, monthly summary on what's in the Power Apps. A lot of cool stuff in here. And of course, we called out some of these things already in the past. Co-pilot being obviously in front and centers. We talked about controls. We talked about all of the other announcements there as well. So again, really, really cool to have these monthly summaries. They help a lot. Now, this one we talked about. This one was the event from last week. Do you want to do a quick intro? What was the event all about? And this is the playlist for that event.
Definitely.
So all of
right. So a while back, we already talked about the idea of bringing Teams apps to Office and Outlook. And with that, basically bring these apps to where people already are. So if you build a Teams app, but you happen to be in Outlook and the app does something like, I don't know, approvals or something else that is not really tied to Teams, why should you have to either, again, find the bookmark and open the app in the browser, or having to go to Teams if you are in Outlook? So now we have this ability that you can basically build a Teams app and you can have that app readily available for you, no matter if you're in Teams, again, Outlook, or in Office, right? So basically talking about these abilities and showing how does that look in practice and what does it take to build that? What technical things are there involved in exposing these apps? Is it just like a snap, or is there some work involved? So if you think about it, if you want to ensure that your customers and colleagues can work more efficiently within Microsoft 365, check it out, because I think the videos are pretty short. Like there are 30 minutes, 8 minutes, 8 minutes. So they're very short, and that will give you a great overview into what's involved in exposing Teams apps in Outlook and Office. And with that, allowing you to achieve more with the work you've already done.
Yeah, absolutely. And the baseline requirement is actually pretty much nothing, right? Because every single Team application.
Now nobody will watch the videos.
Yes. But let's put it this way. It's not hard, because you don't need to do anything for the baseline experience.
Again, you're not helping.
then you're going to improve the experience with the API level checking and all of the details and contextual information is functionality is available or not. But anyway, so that's good. Now, we wanted to call out another recently published playlist, where we have Paolo Pialorsi actually talking here, but this has been done with the partnership of Microsoft. So we basically work with Paolo on doing the videos. We will also publish a set of articles and a blog post are related on this one. 17 videos, that's a lot of material, but the point here is that the individual videos are pretty short and they're pointing on a specific topic. When you are transforming away from the SharePoint adding model to a modern features and capabilities. So as an example, if you have a SharePoint add-in app part, how do you transform that to be a SharePoint Framework web part? Or if you have an ACS registered provider hosted add-in, how do you transform that to be a Microsoft Azure Active Directory app, and how do you do that? So really kind of at that transitional guidance. We want people, I'm going to say this out loud, we want people to stop using SharePoint add-ins, officially not deprecated yet, but of course there is a life cycle for all of these technologies, and the sooner people modernize their technology, the better. So sooner or later, it's going to go away. So it's better to actually modernize the things. That's the scoop of today. There we go. Did I say it? Yes, I said it.
Yes, you have. You said it out loud.
Yes. Now, Laura Kokkarinen had a really cool, again, a blog post related on how to secure trigger Azure functions from Azure Logic app. Why would you do this? What does it mean?
Well, you might have an API or logic encapsulated on functions, right?
Yep.
And the last thing you want to do is expose them anonymously on the internet. Because again, if somebody will find out the URL, well, then kind of what's the expression? The rabbit is out of the hat or something like that. I don't know, like the horse is gone.
Spill the bean.
Exactly. Well, yeah, like it's out there for everybody to use and abuse. So you want to have something in place that will prevent abuse of your APIs and logic, right? And there are multiple ways in which you can go about it. So if you want to know, and you definitely want to know if you don't know about it yet, check out this article because you will learn an important thing or two.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the implementation in here is based on the managed identity inside of the Azure AD. So it basically reference.
No, people need to read these things. Don't just do a TLDR.
Don't teach. Don't try to save people time.
You need all the information. Like, so
read it all.
TLDR, just do this. Like, yeah, but what does that mean?
Fine. Now, Sarah Haas had a discussion again with Mike and Anthony, yes, thank you. Sorry, Anthony. So talking about episode 95, one is Microsoft Copilot and basically having a discussion on that and introductions. Really great show as well. Explaining things in a clear language, not in a Microsoft language, I say. No, it's actually
like unpacking our announcements. Talking more about like what does it mean in practice?
Yes,
what is the impact? What is the possible application benefits?
What's the business implications? What are the opportunities? All of that stuff. And it's actually really important that we have people like Anthony, Mike, and Ashara who are explaining that value with the business language, because quite often we as a Microsoft tend to focus on technology a bit more than the actual business value and functionalities. So. I'm watching her face. I'm watching her weight. Don't.
Poker face. I'm not reacting. I will neither confirm nor deny this statement.
Now, Liam Cleary, tweaking the modern script editor web part is the blog post, and he talks about the modern script editor web part, which is something which is provided as an open source sample. Now that's really as a solution to be used in production. And then basically he talks about the different ways of tweaking that and adjusting that, modernizing and making things better. Now, technically, we had a script editor web part in the let's say classic experiences in SharePoint, and it was highly successful. However, it opens up a security issue where the end users can just drag and drop scripts directly on the SharePoint page, which potentially can leak data. And that's why that functionality doesn't exist in modern SharePoint. Now, as there's, however, high demand for that kind of functionality, there is an open source solution for it, actually originally created by Mikael Svensson, which is an interesting pit. And it's super widely used, but it's one of those things where people need to be careful in understanding that if you actually deploy this to your tenant, you are actually opening up a potential security threat, because end users can again drag and drop scripts in. It might be okay, but people should be aware of how things are actually done. So good. Then we had a blog post from John Liu.
Exactly, about using Power Automate to provide time zone and local time to Power BI dataset and data flow. Very specific use case, but on the other hand, if that's exactly what you need, well, now you know the way about it. Because if there's one thing that is really hard, time zones. I will take regex, I will take DNS every single time over time zones.
I don't think DNS is explicitly hard. The problem with DNS and search is that people forget about renewing those. They just expire and then say, oh, who was supposed to take care of
now,
this?
If only we had a proper service to remind us, like, hey, like you have this thing that you need to pay attention to.
Yeah, like sending an email to a person who had 50,000 unread emails. So,
keep sending 5 emails every day until you renew it.
Exactly.
Make it annoying.
That's true. That's one way of doing that. Now, Andrew Connell from Voitanos had a blog post related on SharePoint Framework updated in the SharePoint Server Subscription Edition. And this is actually quite interesting. How would I put this in a politically correctly way? So obviously, I'm part of the SharePoint Framework team. One of my hats, which I wear, is a PM in that team. Technically, this update is done a bit of a different team, but they're using the SharePoint Framework 1.5 because that's provided by our team. So the on-premises team is isolated and a separate team, and the objective in on-premises team is actually start upgrading now the SharePoint Framework, which is being used within the on-premises, hopefully catching up at some point in newer versions, like even on the 1.16, 1.17. Now, technically, we'll see what's going to happen in there, because a lot of the scenarios and features what we're introducing as part of the new SharePoint Framework solutions are more on cloud level. So, for example, Teams integration, Vivo Connection integration, Azure AD, all of that stuff. And that's not available in on-prem, that's for sure. So, but at least we're heading to a direction that we're updating. One of the things is also that 1.4.1 is basically using outdated version of Node. So it would be good that we
and everything else, Node version. Gulp and NPM, and that makes it really hard, because you then need to have a really outdated dependency chain in order to build on this. So this is kind of, so that is really the downside of it.
Absolutely. And it's one of those things where externally it's super easy to say, why don't you just update on the latest version? Well, it's surprisingly complicated, because it's actually running.
Something like, why don't you just? There is always a very good reason why things are the way they are.
True. That's true.
We're not going to do that like just in developing at scale.
Super detailed discussion on why is that an easy thing, why is that not an easy thing to do right now. But we can have that discussion.
How much time do you have?
If you come to Las Vegas in Microsoft 365 conference and see me on the walking there, we can more than happy to draw a white paper and explain that. Hopefully, by the way, nobody does that, but that's a separate thing. Did I say it out loud?
Circle, SPO, SP on-prem, 2 different things. That's why.
Exactly. That's true. Now, on the Message Center show, I love the intro on this one. Thank you, Daryl and Daniel. Offline meetings in Teams. Say what? So, Daniel and Daryl are giving 10 points to the clickbait message title in Message Center this week, because there was a Message Center entry, which was the offline meetings in Microsoft Teams. What? What? But it's basically a meeting which doesn't have a Teams meeting associated to it, so you can actually create those also in Microsoft Teams. So right now, you can do that in it's an appointment. So a in-person appointment. So
or just an appointment, like you can just book your time without
exactly. But yeah, really, really cool. Once again, covering what's been announced in the message center. Check that out. Really, really great show. Thank you, Dara and Daniel, and keeping up on doing this. We also had a new video from
Giuliano De Luca.
Thank you. Giuliano De Luca on how to use Microsoft Team Mesh avatars. We announced these to be available as part of the Teams V2 announcement last week, and you can actually now start using them, and you can create your own Volvo cars, and you can apparently
That was a nice segue.
Wow.
You can create your Volvo cars and Teams, like what?
But you can create your own avatar and then start using that within the Microsoft Teams. Internally, we've been using this for quite a long time, actually. And these will get better and better. And there's going to be interesting announcements about the avatars and mesh later on the spring. Last thing, what we wanted to remind everybody, we do have an absolutely brilliant conference coming up as a Microsoft 365 conference in Las Vegas on May 2nd to May 4th. Technically, this starts on 13th of April as a pre-workshops. So the May 2nd to May 4th is actually the official workshop day. But there are workshops which are starting before, and there are actually really good workshops. So Sharon Weaver, Sean Bugler, Brian Alderman, Daniel Klenn having their things. We have our gathering of developer people as well in there. That's pretty big gathering. On Monday, same thing. There's Mike Mandalani, Joan Klein, a lot of familiar faces, Tony Paul, Martina Krum, a lot of Roches doing a workshop as well, and then SPFX workshop with me and Chris and David and Hugo. So a lot of cool stuff. And then the actual sessions. For Microsoft, we're sending a big group of people, and there's going to be new announcements and new demos, new things. You don't want to miss out. And the best of all, you can actually meet people in person, so you can actually start asking those hard questions as well. Don't ask those questions for me. No, it's fine. Just joking. So.
Don't tell anybody I told you to ask hard questions.
Hard questions. I think it's fair in those conferences. That's the whole point of the in-person conferences. And we as a Microsoft, we're working there, and you can have those hard questions, and then we want to try to answer it the best we can, given whatever the question is. So that's one of the values
also,
of the things.
But it's also an important part for us. Like, we want to learn and we want to hear from you, and that is exactly why we go to these events and we are there in person for you. Like, and that is also a chance for you to speak up and tell us what's working, what's not, where we can improve. We need to know that to do better. So, like, like as long as as much as you're like, wow, is it the right time? Yes, it is. This is definitely the time for you to grab whoever is there, whoever you come across, and tell them like, hey, like, I have feedback about X or Y. And if that's not the person, well, if there's somebody else who is more, the right person for the area, you will be brought in touch, and you will be able to share whatever you have on your chest.
Yeah, and like you said, it's not necessary that they can solve the problem immediately, but the feedback is important. We are building Microsoft 365 and Microsoft Cloud for you, for the customers and partners to consume. So if people have feedback and constructive feedback and things how we can improve, that's super valuable for us. So again, that's why we do this thing. Cool. I think we went through the weekly gathering, what's going to happen this week already with April. And it's holiday season, not holiday season, Eastern spring break season.
Easter is holidays in a way.
Yeah, kind of. In Redmond area, there's the spring break is coming actually right now in the next week. So that's going to impact on most likely on some level of news and all of that. And we have in Europe, we have 4 days off. That's almost like a sabbatical, right?
You have a weekend and then 2 days off, and you call that sabbatical. Like, that's really should. By the time you pack your bag, you're gonna be back.
Yes. Yep. But it's not like you get to have 4 days off all the time.
You gotta reinvent yourself really quickly.
Yes.
You can reinvent yourself just a little bit.
Yes.
Don't make it too wild.
Cool. All good. Anything else on your mind, Waldek? No.
Always. But that is for another time. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, this is a family show. Now,
that is what
it's almost like Friday.
What's on your mind?
But thank you everybody for watching and listening. Also use the hashtag PnP Weekly in Twitter, so we know the awesome stuff that you're writing and publishing in a YouTube or in podcast or whatever formats, because we always want to catch up on what's happening within the ecosystem. Give us feedback, what works, what doesn't work. If you have ideas on who would be an awesome visitor, let us know. And that's it. Have a great rest of the week whenever you're watching this. It's probably still at some point of the week, you can say. Right? Thanks everybody for watching.
You're getting
Cheers.
Very philosophical towards the end of the week. We need to keep doing these on Monday.
Yeah. That's true. Thanks everybody. We'll be in touch. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.